a unique state of awakening.
Yeah. We've got a lot of incredible potential. Gifts that I got this download. This was like a while ago, probably like a year or two ago. But that beings, galactic star family, if you will, or galactic beings would even come to me because I have a specific gift that they could use and that's helpful for them. So, like these beings are not above us, even though they're more advanced and they're more aware of who they are. We have very, very unique potential because of our different genetics, our combination of genetics. So I just wanted to share that. I mean, who knows where we'll be once the suppression stops and once we start to, everybody's so worried about like paying bills and just surviving and the fear, constantly being blasted at you that we can't really thrive in this state. So I can only imagine what we are capable of. Apparently, we're very creative species too, like more creative than a lot of even these galactic beings. Like we have a lot of really special, unique gifts. So I think that's fantastic. Yeah, a lot of the distractions and things that are just kind of keeping us. Something that you mentioned that I was thinking about whenever we were talking about too. Have you guys seen the movie They Live?
Oh yeah, classic.
Yeah, I watched it for the first time not too long ago, and I'm like, oh my god, they depicted this in the 80s, and crazy. But it's also based off of a short story. I read the short story by somebody in the 60s. It was written in the 60s. And the original aliens are reptilians. They're reptile beings. But they didn't put that in the movie. They made them, kind of look like the skeletons. But that's a lot of what I'm seeing. You were mentioning like how do some people can see, some people can't. It's very symbolic, like that movie portrays it well. And even in that movie, like you got the subliminal messages. So the guy, spoiler alert, you guys should watch it though if there's anybody here who hasn't seen it. They Live.
Oh, you got it. Yes, it's a
Yeah,
must see.
definitely. It's incredible. There's a lot of truths in it, but these glasses allow him to see things that like subliminal messages and see the true form of some of these beings who are walking around kind of acting human. And the satellites. This really caught my attention. In the movie back in the 80s, they showed these satellites pumping out frequencies to the people, control frequencies. So that's part of what I've been seeing a lot over the last couple months as I've been gaining access to more of this sort of information, or the last few months or however long it's been, is these satellites and things that are artificially keeping this illusion and this veil up and keeping people kind of like literally plugged into this 3D matrix. Like it's technology that's doing it, holding us here and holding this veil up. And I've seen and received messages about that starting to be taken down, and as well as in conjunction with the energy from the sun, is going to help people see through it. The blind will soon see, they say. The blind will soon see. That's one of the messages I've been getting. So
yeah, well, I mean, the internet is a fairly recent phenomenon in human history, and but people have been having these conversations for a very long time. And it makes me think of the work of Rudolf Steiner, and I think that was 1800s, if I'm not mistaken. And, there was the whole story about the eighth sphere and the coming of Ahriman. And, and it described technocracy, and it described so much of what we're experiencing today. Now, a lot of this knowledge was skirted away in mystery schools. Some of them good, some of them bad, but always the necessity to kind of protect this information so it wouldn't be consumed by the masses for whatever reason. But but Elon's one of his baby mamas, Grimes, she is an actress in an upcoming movie called The Rise of Ahriman. And of course, Elon represents technocracy to a lot of people. And just this whole eighth sphere concept, I don't know, it's just so many things are kind of gelling right now. This time we're living in seems to be the convergence of an awful lot of prophecy and an awful lot of strange bits of history all coming together. Like, there's context for things now that we didn't have before. I mean, just recently we found out that Charlie Manson was a CIA guy. I mean, it's these truths are coming out in a way that would seem strategic.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
To facilitate this awakening.
Yeah, for sure. I do believe that it's all very, very strategic. And there's time travel involved too.
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to expand on that subject, we did an interview, and this actually was just confirmed by Mel Gibson today. In fact, I sent this to Scott. We have a gentleman. It's interview number 50. His name's Kevin, and he took unknowingly, or they told him what it was, but he was like, yeah, right. He took adrenochrome, and he talked of the time travel associated with adrenochrome, and what came up today, and I sent this to Scott. I think this was in 2017.
Did I miss this today? Because I don't.
Well, you were busy doing doing a few things, but I said this. So when Mel Gibson outed Hollywood, I don't know if this was 2017 or earlier. He said, it's so talking about the occult that's in Hollywood. It's a dark, multi-dimensional occult, art and practice used by secret societies in the last few hundred years for social programming and mind control, and raised to a zenith by Hollywood and America in our era. And so when he said the multi-dimensional part, it really made me, not that I didn't believe Kevin,
but was that Kevin or was that
that's
Mel?
what Mel Gibson said, but it backs up the time travel that Kevin had experienced while being on adrenochrome.
Yeah, Kevin's story is extraordinary.
Yeah,
and
it's interview number 50 for those of you that are interested in checking that out.
I mean, it's really out there, but
it's a 2-part series.
Getting to know this guy, I mean, he's about as genuine as it gets, and I can relate to having strange things happen that don't make sense at the time they're happening, but they make perfect sense down the road. And he's seen, like, he didn't know half of the figures. He knew their names because he experienced that, but he didn't know who they were. And then he came to find these are key people, in the world on the stage today. And
what figures? Like the political figures? Or are you talking about like biblical figures or what?
Political and celebrity figures. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But
interesting.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the entirety of what he told us doesn't happen.
Oh goodness.
Because it's kind of a long and protracted kind of a civil war sort of a scenario, and I don't think that's where we're headed right now at all.
Yeah, it must have been a different timeline, but
yeah.
But I thought it'd be good. Any and you just interviewed, I think, Daryl James. It'd be great to hear a little bit about what you've learned about time travel, and whether it's through portals or anything you want to talk about on that subject.
Yeah. So very interesting. I have become time travel has just been surrounding me lately since I've been promoted. So I get a lot of this information from time travelers, and I actually see some of these beings. Like I'll see them often. Sometimes in the corner of my room, I'll see them come through a portal. It's really interesting. A lot of the time, they see a person with like a hat, kind of like a trench coat type deal. Very interesting. But it's depicted. What I'm finding is it's depicted in a lot of films too. Like there's this film called The Adjustment Bureau. Have you guys heard of that?
Yep.
I've seen things like this, and that's a similar vibe with like a watch in devices that they use to time travel. And all the guys in the Adjustment Bureau highly recommend watching that. They're wearing hats too, but they go through like these doors, these portals, and I've actually seen this kind of place between worlds, where I don't know if they knew. They kind of were looking at me like, how, like, what are you doing here? There was a whole group of them, these time travel people, and it seems like Okay, well, let me finish first sentence first. So in this area that I found myself in, there were tons of different doors. There was one specific red door that felt very important. But there's these other doors, and it was kind of this place in between places, and there were all these like time travel people there. And it seemed like they were going through these different portals into different parts in time and just making adjustments similar to the Adjustment Bureau, that film.